The DEA for years was finding ways to claim any passenger with cash over certain amounts were using it for drugs. They would seize the cash by using civil asset forfeiture policies. In a way, they could have funds without going through Congress. Most of the time, the courts made trying to get the money back too expensive. This has become an issue as people lose their life savings from the abuses of power. People at airports are forced to either lose their money or miss their flights, but sometimes end up both happening. Civil asset forfeiture is a crime, but the government gets away with it because the government. Both bureaucrats and politicians make it easy. They are then assisted by courts who would want to make it harder for citizens to get a chance at justice unless a citizen has enough money. This is all made worse when people are ambushed at airports, which is already stressful enough. The Department of Justice has suspended the program because of concerns from the Inspector General. I stand against civil asset forfeiture. You can go back through my channel. I talk against it all the time. And this was idiotic that they would do this. But let's get into this. Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself. Okay, as I always say, but I don't know if anybody new's listening, you can research all of this via my Substack with the link down below. So, via a press release from Congressman Tim Walberg of Michigan, is how much is being seized. The reason the government and law enforcement agencies continue to use civil asset forfeiture, according to Miss West, is because it's incredibly lucrative. Between 2000 and 2019, states the federal government pocketed a combined total of $68.8 billion through forfeiture, according to IJ's Policing for Profit report. However, it adds, because not all states provide full data, this figure drastically underestimates the forfeiture's true scope. Institute for Justice's report is the only comprehensive study that examines civil forfeiture in all 50 states and federally. IJ released its first report in 2010 and publishes a new one every 5 years. Law enforcement agencies react to incentives just like everybody else, Miss West said. They get to keep the proceeds of forfeiture, and there are often very few limits on what they can do with it. For example, Miss West said law enforcement purchased a $70,000 muscle car with forfeiture funds in Georgia. And in New York, law enforcement spent $250,000 on travel and meals. There are all kinds of crazy examples of things that law enforcement has done with forfeiture funds, she said. Recognizing the possible problematic nature of civil forfeiture, Ms. West said some states have enacted legislation to help protect citizens. Missouri, for example, passed a state constitutional amendment that required forfeiture funds to go directly to schools. But Ms. West said in 2019, an investigation found that only 2% of forfeiture funds in Missouri actually make it to Missouri schools. For states that have passed civil forfeiture practice reforms, law enforcement agencies can get around the constraints by participating in what's known as equitable sharing with the Department of Justice. It works by the state partnering with DOJ through its asset forfeiture program to transfer forfeiture funds to the DOJ's asset forfeiture fund. The DOJ then uses these funds to deter, disrupt, and dismantle criminal enterprises by depriving criminals of the instruments of illicit activity and return some of the transferred funds to the states afterwards. Law enforcement can get back up to 80% of the proceeds through equitable sharing. Then the state reforms don't apply to them because it's federal forfeiture, not a state forfeiture, Ms. West explained. In 2022, states deposited almost $1.8 billion to the DOJ's forfeiture fund, according to the department's statistics. The most significant contributors were California with over $291 million, New York with over $223 million, Michigan with over $221 million, the District of Columbia with over $164 million, Florida with $146 million, Texas with $125 million in deposits. So this is a bipartisan effort right here. What do you say about that? When contacted for comment, the Michigan State Police Department pointed the Epic Times to its 2023 asset forfeiture report, which shows between January 1st, 2022 and December 31st, 2022, the department seized $10 million in cash and assets from drug traffickers, and asset forfeiture funds were utilized to support law enforcement by providing resources for equipment, personnel, vehicle training, and supplies. In response, the Epic Times request for comment on civil forfeiture's benefits and ability to be abused, the Dallas Police Department said via email, Chapter 59 of the Code of Criminal Procedure gives police department the authority to seize certain property that has been used in the commission of certain felonies. After proper notice and a hearing, seized property may then be forfeited. The Dallas Police Department seizes property where probable cause exists to believe the property is contraband under Chapter 59. By the way, no, they don't. If you have cash on you, they claim that you do, and then you have to go to court. That's not in. The New York Police Department told Epic Times via email, in every forfeiture matter handled by the NYPD, the defendant owner is afforded due process of full and fair opportunity to contest the forfeiture matter in court. With respect to motor vehicles in particular, in accordance with the federal court decision in Crimstock versus Kelly, vehicle owners have the right to prompt hearing to challenge the seizure of their vehicle and to request that it be returned to them while an action of forfeiture is pending. These hearings take place before the New York City Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. Oath. All funds obtained through civil forfeiture settlements or judgments are deposited in New York City General Fund. The NYPD does not currently handle forfeiture cases involving currency. Okay, so let's get to the DOJ report. And here, via DOJ Inspector General, is what they found and why the seizures were stopped. The purpose of this memorandum is to bring to your immediate attention serious concerns identified by the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Inspector General during our ongoing oversight of the Drug Enforcement Administration transportation interdiction activities. The OIG's oversight includes an evaluation of the DEA's transportation interdiction activities and a separate ongoing OIG investigation, both of which were initiated earlier this year. This memorandum also follows prior OIG audits, reviews, and investigation that have identified significant issues with the DEA's use of consensual encounters at transportation facilities and its management of its confidential sources program, all of which have informed the analysis and recommendations of this memorandum. The OIG recently identified that during transportation interdiction activities, the DEA was not complying with its own policy on consensual encounters conducted at mass transportation facilities, resulting in personnel creating potentially significant operational and legal risk. Specifically, the DEA was not complying with DEA policy to complete is a form for each consensual encounter, despite prior DEA representations to the OIG that the DEA was doing so. Additionally, the DEA was not ensuring that all DEA task force personnel complete interdiction training required by DEA policy, despite the DEA's prior representations to the OIG DEA would do so, resulting in personnel conducting interdiction activities at transportation facilities without first receiving the required training. In our view, and as described in detail below, proceedings at such interdiction activities in the absence of critical controls such as adequate policies, guidance, training, and data collection create substantial risk that DEA special agents and task force officers will conduct these activities improperly, impose unwarranted burdens on, and violate the legal rights of innocent travelers, imperil the department's asset forfeiture and seizure activities, waste law enforcement resources in ineffective interdiction actions. On November 12, 2024, after receiving a draft of this management advisory memorandum, the Deputy Attorney General issued a directive to the DEA to suspend conducting pending an assessment and evaluation all consensual encounters at mass transportation facilities unless they are either connected to an existing investigation or approved by the DEA administrator based on exigent circumstances. There is more that can be said, but this should concern everyone. Oh, and if you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment, and I've got a link tree down below that's got my social media, and it has my Patreon if you want to help out. Thank y'all. You can research this yourself. There are people that, I don't know why, but they carry cash. There's a story that I heard recently or read recently. It's a news article that I read this, where a guy went to his dad's place, and his dad was older and didn't trust banks because he had had bad encounters with them before. Well, he had kept all his cash at his home. Well, the guy did not live in the area and said, I'll put it in my bank so it'll be safe. I trust my bank. And so his dad finally agreed to it. The guy took the money with him to fly back home, and the DEA seized his father's life savings. There are multiple stories of folks leaving Las Vegas with cash because they didn't have a way to deposit it, or they were running late or whatever, and so they just had the cash from their winnings, and it was seized by different law enforcement depending on how they left. It is a favorite of Nevada cops, California cops, any cop that's dealing with folks leaving Las Vegas to need to search the vehicle. And this is the same thing for when they go through the airports. If it's on a check-on bag, they know what's in the check-on bag, and then all of a sudden you get to another airport and the DA is there going, well, we think that it's connected to drugs, and you can prove it later on in court. Yes, this is an idiotic thing, and they're taking billions of dollars from common citizens. This needs to stop, period. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.